Hello, welcome. I am so delighted that you are here today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is around the world. So happy that you're here. I'm so excited. Today, we're going to talk about a skill that you got to have for 2024. If you're a leader, whether you're running your own business, whether you're managing a team, whether you're head of a nonprofit, this skill is so important for you as you look to elevate your impact and your growth. And so I'm going to reveal that skill to you and then talk about what it means to define it. And then I'm going to talk about why it's important to you as a leader. But at the end, near the end, I'm going to really get into and teach you the steps to be able to acquire this skill. So don't go anywhere. Stay till the end. We're going to have some fun and really get into some things that are real important. So I want you to say hello. And where are you from? Where are you signing in from? Where you're listening, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, we're there because this is an important conversation if you're a leader and you're getting yourself ready for the new year. And so, hello, how are you? Please let me know where you're coming in from. So let me ask you, what does it truly mean to be yourself in today's world? How do you navigate this fine line that now exists between fitting in and standing out in a landscape in all the noise that's going on, where every one of your actions can be scrutinized and every choice that you make can be dissected? This question becomes even more fascinating when we consider that Webster's dictionary has chosen authentic as their word of the year for 2023. So, what is the skill that is increasingly critical in today's world? Well, you probably guessed it because it's that one that Merriam-Webster, the dictionary, has spotlighted and that we all kind of grapple with in various ways. It's authenticity. Okay, say it again 5 times. Yes, being genuine and true to your personality and character has emerged as an indispensable skill for leaders in 2024. Now, this skill isn't just about being real. It's about leading with integrity, creating trust, and inspiring change. It's a word that really has become increasingly prominent in discussions about artificial intelligence, AI, celebrity culture, identity, and certainly within the world of social media. Authentic resonates with the idea of being genuine, of being true to one's own personality or character. It's the do you, be you. Yet it is a concept that many of us can grapple with personally and professionally, particularly if we're not sure how to implement it. And if we're confused about, well, where's that line between being vulnerable and telling my stuff and, really maintaining a professional air. Mhm. So in this video, I'm going to share why authenticity is vital for leaders today and how mastering it, in fact, can transform your approach to leadership, your teams, and to your entire organization, and also can make good sense in your personal life. I'm going to define authenticity in the context of leadership and walk through some practical, actionable steps on how leaders can cultivate and really express and use this critical trait in your profession and in your personal role. So stay to the end because we're going to get into some real interesting conversation. I'm so excited that you're here because authenticity can transform the way you lead and connect with and inspire those around you. For those of you hi, how's everybody? Let me first say good morning good morning from Dallas, Texas, my favorite colleague. How you doing this morning, Dr. Pierre? And David, how are you? From Georgia. Oh, Atlanta. That's one of my favorite places. Yes, authenticity. That's what we're talking about. And how you doing from Detroit? For those of you who don't know, I am broadcasting from Detroit, Michigan, but here all over the world through the wonders of this online media presence and all these kinds of wonderful things that we have going on today. So it's so good to see you. And so let me see. I want to make sure everyone says hello that I've seen. And yes, so much. Thank you. So in case are there those of you who I haven't met yet? There might be. So that's where I left off, right? I'm Dr. Geneva Williams. Call me Dr. Geneva. I'm a leadership expert and have been for a number of years. I've studied leadership for decades and earned my doctorate in leadership. But here's the thing. I've done leadership as CEO of multi-million dollar organizations and of my own business. I'm also a trainer and an author. Hey, 42 Tips on Leadership, Justice on the Jersey Shore, which is a study in transformational leadership, where the subject is my dad and all of the work he did in civil rights. And for those of you who are living life over 50 and want to still continue that impact, living life over 50. And we might have met on LinkedIn where I'm a top leadership voice. My mission is to teach you leadership skills and life strategies so that you can achieve your goals and dreams in your next chapter. Now, let me tell you, over the years, I've navigated through various facets of leadership, encountering, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, the triumphs and the challenges. Trust me. One such challenge stands out that I think is particularly interesting for this conversation we're having today on authenticity. My organization, one of my organizations that I led, faced a real funding hiccup. And due to some unforeseen red tape issues, a significant payment that we were expecting was delayed. And this resulted in a brief delay in paying my team their wages. Now, I'm going to tell you, in that moment, um, I knew that the only way I could go forward was with complete transparency and accountability. I had to tell the truth. As devastated as I was, embarrassed, mad at myself, a thousand different things, even though it wasn't my fault, I'm the leader. I had to take responsibility. I gathered them all. I laid out the entire situation. I didn't spare any of the details, including my mistakes and how I felt I could have done things differently. Um, I took full responsibility for everything. Again, even though much of it wasn't under my control. And it wasn't just about being honest, which I was. It was really about showing my team that I valued them enough, that I respected them enough, that I related to what they were going through when they were going to miss a day of a paycheck. I valued them enough to be open and vulnerable. I also shared my plan to resolve the issue and to make sure they all understood it and that we were on the same page. And the outcome, instead of the frustration and mistrust, there was really understanding. And it was almost like a renewed sense of solidarity. Now, folk were disappointed, and people had to make adjustments in their personal life, in their home life. But the way my team understood, the way we got through it, I'm going to tell you, it was about because I was authentic. And it wasn't just about, again, being real. It had to do with the integrity, especially when things don't go as planned. Because one of the things about leadership is where you step forward is when things don't go as you expect. And so, it really is about being the leader who stands in front, who stands out there, who stands in front of their team. And during uncertain times said, listen, here's what the deal is. Here's the situation. Here's my part in this. And here's how I'm going to solve it and how we're going to move forward together. By the way, it turned out that because I was working my magic, doing whatever, staying up late, calling people I knew, etc., that day or two of missed pay turned out to be only a day. And so it worked out. But the the what happened in my relationship with the team, really elevated overnight. And we had this solidarity, and really it just made real that standing out and being authentic was so important. And the research supports this approach. Recently, a survey of 14,000 global leaders found that employees are 5 times more likely to trust leaders who show vulnerability, a key aspect of being authentic. And leaders who acknowledge their failures say, yeah, I blew it, I made the mistake, and really lay it out there, are really 7 times more likely to maintain trust. Mhm. And also, there's some research out there that says staff turnover can be affected, where that is, it drops where leaders are authentic because they've created an environment of trust and respect and connectedness. And that's what authentic leaders do. They create this culture of learning and innovation, and companies and organizations can become more adaptable and creative and successful in the long run. So, as we're here today to talk about authentic leadership, I don't want you to think that it's just a nice to have kind of thing. We're talking about a leadership style that has tangible, measurable benefits and can help you create workplaces where people thrive, where innovation and newness and excitement, enthusiasm is the norm. Imagine that as a culture, and where success is a collective achievement. And so that's what we're talking about. That's why I'm excited about teaching on this subject of authenticity, because I believe for 2024 and where we're going and everything that's happening, this is one of those skills that if you develop, you're going to stand out. You're going to elevate your leadership and you're going to help a lot of people. So I'd love to know what you all think so far about um, this conversation as we say hello to everyone. And yes, that pay thing, yeah, I'm telling you, it was a tough one. So I ain't playing around here. When I tell you, I may have a doctorate, but I want you to know my time, my dues has not been spent in the classroom. Now, now I can wrap some theory and do all that good academic stuff, which is important. My experience has come being in the trenches, being out there, dealing with it. And I'm telling you, I've seen this, authenticity skill be so incredible. And why I want to talk about it now, although I've seen and been in situations where I've had to use it throughout the years, but why it's so important now is because of the noise that's going on out there, and how important it is to up level what we do. Deborah Usher, good morning. How are you? Oh, my friend, you want to talk about somebody who's authentic and been in the field for many years. How you doing? And yes, I love the comment that Dr. Pierre is leaving with us. Vulnerability allows others to see what we do not think, that we are perfect or without faults. That's right. It makes us more human and approachable. Thank you for sharing that. And all of you who are sharing comments, thank you. Okay, so let's jump into, I now want to, I've often been asked, well, how can we define authenticity? So I want to take a stab at that. Um, I must admit, I do like this quote that Brene Brown uses, who's a researcher and author, but she calls authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Now, oftentimes that's easier to say, um, and a little bit more difficult to do. But if you stay tuned, I'm going to give you some steps, some secrets on how you can increase your authenticity at work, in your organization, in your personal life. You can be using these tips. But first, let's look at, what does authenticity mean? I'm uh, currently chair of the Michigan Women's Commission, appointed by the governor to listen to women across the state of Michigan and try to affect policy and legislation for positive change. Before she appointed me to that role, I was on the commission as chair of the first ever Visible, Authentic Leadership Committee. And this committee was charged with making sure that women in the state had access to appointments and positions and could really be in places and do things that would elevate and put them in a spotlight where they can use they could be visible and use their authentic leadership, because we realize the value of authenticity in leading. And in there's a video that you can watch, but when I was asked to, well, what does this authentic leadership mean in the context of women and this women's commission and what the work we were doing across the state? And for me, it's got these four elements in it. First of all, authenticity is about honesty, being truthful and straightforward. Simple, easy. Transparency, um, having an openness and a clarity in your actions and your intentions. And a lot of this you can do and put forth when you talk about your goals or your vision, when you're very clear about that, when you're clear about the processes you want to use, when your decisions, people know about them and they understand about them. So being transparent, having this openness is another dimension and part of authenticity when we look at defining it. Expertise. Many people don't really think about this when they think about when authenticity or being authentic. But you see, your expertise in your field um, shows that you're knowledgeable and skilled in a particular area of work. And this aspect, this, shows competency. And when others view you as competent, they tend to have more confidence in you, in your decision making process, your ability to lead and make informed choices about next steps and strategies. So, this expertise aspect, I want you to consider as you think about how we defined authenticity. And finally, empathy. It really is, empathy, the ability to be able to understand, to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, is another very important aspect of authenticity that involves listening and understanding and getting to know the people that you work with. So these are the uh, dimensions of authenticity and what I would use to define them. I'd love to know the words or how you define authenticity. I want to add that as we look at what is authenticity, it is a personalized journey. I mean, it is for you. That's what I mean by that. And it's about you diving deep into your inner self and finding that balance, that vulnerability, and also at the same time of being a personal journey. A part of authenticity is encouraging others to be their authentic self. So when we think about being authentic, it's both personal, your own journey as a leader, and how you can encourage and inspire others in the workplace. Okay, so I wanted to add that PS as we define authenticity. So why is this important, particularly for women in leadership? Now, I know I have um, brothers and sisters with me today, and I coach men and women, um, and enjoy the interchanges that we have. I particularly want to talk about to my sisters out there. And thank you, Deborah, who's adding authentic and some jointly sharing and learning. That's right, from the experience with others. And that has a lot to do with being empathetic and how you can step in, because when you're sharing and learning from others, you're beginning to understand what it's like to be in their shoes and experience what they're experiencing, or at least try to do that, to be open and honest. And that's a very critical part of what we're talking about. Yes, I was just looking at all the comments here. Yes. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about why this is important. Let me see. For women, yes. For women, um, just a second. Thank you for all your comments. I appreciate every single one of them. Let me just try to get my thing straight here. Okay. Okay, so we did that. Hang with me for a moment. Y'all know I'm trying to work with this now. Okay, go here and hide. Thank you. Okay, I got it. Let's talk about why authenticity is important for women in leadership. And you know, I have a specialty for working with women in leadership roles, particularly those who are in the midlife of their careers, their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And that's why I wrote Living Over 50. That's why I have specialty courses on this. And that's why I coach women who are in that wonderful middle years of their careers and oftentimes looking for their next step, whether it's elevating wherever they are now, or whether it's switching careers or going into a new industry or writing that book, whatever it is, whatever leadership role you're in. Here's why I think authenticity is important. One, creating change. Authenticity is really vital for women leaders to be able to make a difference, to create change. And by being authentic, they can inspire trust and respect, which is absolutely critical if you want to influence others. Another reason why authenticity is so important for women in leadership roles is the role modeling dynamic. Because authentic women, women who practice vulnerability, honesty, transparency, can serve as role models for others. And they set a standard for effective, ethical leadership in their workplaces as they run their business. And this is also important for encouraging other women and younger generations to step into leadership roles. Another reason why I believe that authenticity is so critical, particularly for women in leadership roles, is this self-awareness capacity that gets developed as you dig deep and find your authenticity and your vulnerability. Because in order to be authentic, you have to be aware. You have to understand yourself. You have to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your goals. And all of this self-awareness helps you lead better with integrity and make decisions that are aligned with your true self. Another reason why, for particularly women in leadership, is that it helps to empower others, because it's just not about your personal qualities. you really significantly impact others that you lead. And if you're leading them and you're being vulnerable and authentic and being that role model, you in fact empower others as well and foster an environment of trust and respect and open communication. And why this empowerment of others is so important is because it gets us closer to collective success and progress. We're not just in it. I believe women in leadership roles have a unique responsibility for the collective, for others, particularly younger women who are coming along. And the more that we are authentic and use this as a real deal strategy, we can empower others and see collective success and progress. And finally, I think authenticity is important for women in leadership roles is because we can ensure that diverse voices and perspectives are heard and represented in the decision-making process, and we can be more inclusive and representative because we're bringing our true selves to our roles, and we know the power and the importance of hearing diverse perspectives. It's one of the dynamics of female leadership, and that is that we tend to be inclusive. We tend to listen to others. We tend to want to bring others to the table. And so this dynamic of authentically understanding ourselves and being in the mix and doing this authentic leadership, it gives rise to also being inclusive and making sure that others are represented. So those are the reasons why I think it's so important to all leaders to have this indispensable skill for 2024, but particularly for those women in leadership who are growing themselves, who are reinventing themselves, and who are encouraging others and feel very focused also on leaving a legacy. Okay, so the part you've been waiting for, perhaps. What are some of the steps that can serve as tools and tips for you to cultivate and express more authenticity in your professional and your personal roles? And again, for those of you who are here live on the replay, if you've got comments, please leave them. If you have questions, I would love to hear them. And if you're on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, hello. And whatever it is that you do when you like some content, please do it. So if you're on YouTube, it's a like. If you're on LinkedIn, it's making great comments and sharing this video. And so please do it if you're enjoying the content. And did I forget to say that if you want to get some of this good content and join a community, you can come on over to elevatenextlevelsuccess.com and join me. Come on over. I would love to have you join in on the conversations about reinventing yourself, having greater leadership impact. You know, my mission is to teach and inspire leadership skills and life strategies so that you can achieve your goals and your dreams for whatever your next is. And so if you want to do some of that, come on over to Elevate Next Level Success, join my community, continue to listen to these videos too. I love having you here. I'm excited about you being here. Okay, so let's get to the steps. And these steps are, I did share with you decades in doing leadership. Although I've got the academic creds, my biggest expertise and experience comes from actually doing leadership. I wanted to share some of those things that I've learned that really make a difference. So, the first step I'd like to talk about is to engage in self reflection. And this means that, you know, you need to be about regularly thinking about yourself as a leader, bottom line, and understanding what you truly believe in, what your identity is, reflect on what truly matters to you, and how these things align with what you do, your actions and your decisions. I remember a big aha moment came from me early in my career when I um, read a quote um, from a leadership theorist who gave all of these things we had to learn in order to be a good leader and listed them. And then in the final sentence or two said, but how you become a great leader is understanding the leader in you first. So that leadership is about self development. That that was a life changing experience for me because it shifted my whole perspective about leading and really opened up this deep exploration and learning and study about my values, what I thought was important, and at the same time, listening to others, listening to team members, to others to find out what they had to say, what they were thinking, and use all of that in reflection. And it also was the time that I started journaling, which is the other thing I suggest for you as you're engaging in self reflection, to document all of my thoughts and feelings, because this really helped me gain clarity about my authentic self. Because it's very important, because when you get out there and you begin to um, have conversations about, what's important to you, what really matters to you. You got to really know yourself, and finding yourself and knowing yourself becomes real important. I'd love to hear what you all think about this self reflection and engaging in self reflection. Okay. So, and again, it should not be something that you do, every once in a while. You need to do that reflecting on a regular basis. And you can set up a schedule to do that. I like to do mine. I do like every weekend. I'll take some chunk of time, when I'm relaxed. And when I say chunk of time, I take about an hour, and I'll pull out, my journal, pull out my journal, and I'll just journal and reflect. I used to do it on a more regular basis, daily, etc. I don't do that anymore. I because of time and some other things that I want to spend, more of my energy on. But I'll take, an hour. That's all you need. And I'll just pull out the journal and just reflect on my values. What do I think is important? What happened during the week? How did it affect me? And think about it in terms of how it affected me as a leader and what I thought was important to do. So there's now the second step I want to talk to you about is this whole EQ, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence, and what that means in terms of being authentic. And so, how many of you believe that learning how to regulate your emotions matters? Give me a thumbs up if you believe that, and whether or not this whole aspect of developing emotional intelligence matters. And again, this is related to the first one, but very specifically, first one being self-awareness, but very specifically focused on your emotions, working on understanding how you feel about things, because how you feel about them influences your behavior. And it really does. I can't tell you how many times, of course, when I was younger, I've learned how to regulate since then. But I can't tell you how many times I would work with a team member, an employee, and I'd be like, what are they doing? Why did they do that? And I would let my emotions, whether they be anger or disappointment or a host of different feelings that I had about a certain situation. I told them we went through this, we practiced, we, strategized together. And then they went out and did whatever. Okay. Happens a lot of times. But what I would find that 9 times out of 10, that wasn't about them or that employee or team member. That was about me, because it was about my emotions and how I reacted to that situation. And when you spend time doing that, you don't have time to think about that employee or that team member that really you should be helping and working with, because that is your role as a leader, to help grow and develop that team member, that employee, and then work on yourself and your own emotions in your own time. Okay? But your responsibility is to them. So, finding this way to develop emotional intelligence is an important step. And in it, as you're doing that, you're practicing empathy, because you're developing that ability rather than dealing with your thing. You are developing the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. And this is going to help you not only in relating to others, but also in accepting the authenticity of those around you and encouraging that. Would love to hear what y'all thinking about that one. Oh, Dr. Pierre, try to incorporate self-reflection in your meditation times and pray that the Lord shows me where I need to focus, revamp, and grow. God is good all the time and is there all the time for us, showing us. Thank you for sharing that with us, and also about self-reflection and self leadership, and how to identify the things that we know are challenging for us. Yes, thank you for much for sharing that for you. Rashonda, how are you? Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining. I'm so glad. I'm so delighted that you were able to join in. Thank you so much. Yes. So I do think that this emotional intelligence is very important, because this is probably one of the number one things that I've dealt with as I've coached younger leaders, and as I consult with some of my high achieving clients as well. This whole aspect of being able to regulate, understand, and deal with your own emotions, and understand how when you do that, you can find your most authentic self, because you recognize who it is that you are and how you're feeling. And so this is an important step in becoming more authentic. The next step is establishing boundaries. Now, I get this one all the time. Dr. Geneva, you want us to Go out and be vulnerable. You want us to tell it all. But, you know, should I be telling all my business? And how do I remain professional in doing that? So I wanted to put this step as a way to be more authentic in your leadership because you can't deny it. It is, in fact, important. And here's how you approach it: you establish those boundaries, and you do it both personally and professionally. You define your limits, you say what you're comfortable with and what you're not, both in your professional or your personal context. And these boundaries are really important for maintaining authenticity without overextending yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? So uh, I often, uh, when I deal with boundaries, I find ways to tell the truth about what I'm experiencing or what I feel or what the boundary is, but I don't have to give the whole truthful agenda. Here's what I mean by that. So, um, I'd love to go to that golf tournament, but on the weekend, my priority is my family. Okay. So I'm being vulnerable. I'm talking about how I'd love to go, which I would, but I've got weekends that I've committed. I'm being vulnerable about that, talking about my family, putting that out there. And but yet it's very professional. You know, these are my personal policies that I have. I often talk about that. Well, you know, one of my personal policies is that I stop at 5 on the weekend on Fridays so that I can be with my family. So you're sharing, but now you're not telling your whole business. Yeah, because this weekend I'm taking my kids to go see Santa. And then we're going to go over and I got to go shopping because I haven't started my Christmas shopping yet. You ain't getting into all of that. You're not. So you don't have to tell all of it, but you tell the pieces that relate to the situation and are truthful. I use this time for my family time. It's a tradition in our household. It's a personal practice of mine. I'd love to go. Please let me know the next time. Okay. So, one of the things that's important as you're dealing with being an authentic leader is to know that it's okay and you should be establishing personal and professional boundaries. And if you need to practice that, what you'd say, because usually they're the usual can be whatever your industry is, whatever that culture is, they're usually the same kind of requests that you're going to be getting. Okay, they may come from different people, but they're in the same grouping, and you can practice what it is that you say or talk about. And communicating these boundaries effectively and assertively and saying it and be respectful of it. Don't be saying, look, I can't go with you. I don't want to go. I got things to do this weekend. No, 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 that ain't respectful. I ain't talking about that. But really, very firmly, with grace, and talk about how you'd like to be invited the next time. Here are your boundaries. Okay? So you can do it, you can be both. The next step is to build inclusive and supportive environments. And this is an important step an important step to building your authentic leadership in presence. So this talks about how you do build the networks and you surround yourself with people who respect and encourage your authentic self. And this could be mentors, colleagues, friends, and family. Okay. And Also, this involves promoting authenticity in others. And we've talked about this before because you can encourage authenticity in your workplace and your social circles, and you lead by example and also support others who are expressing their true selves. So, this is something that you can do. Building inclusive and supportive environments helps elevate your authenticity as a leader. And step 5, embrace continuous learning and growth in what you do. Be a continuous learner. Remember, we talked about how competency, there aren't a lot of people who talk about this, that competency is part of the mix when we talk about authenticity, because your expertise gives others confidence in you being able to make the right kind of decisions, informed choices, because you're good at what you do, because you're a continuous learner, because you study, because you're aware of the latest trends, because you use technology to help be more productive and efficient. All of those pieces build up to your expertise and your competence, and people gravitate towards that because they trust you to make good decisions. They expect you to lead them down the right path. Okay? So, this, you being a continuous learner and being on the top of your field, is important. Okay? So, those are the things I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for engaging. And yes, self reflection is definitely uh, important as we develop skills. If you have any questions or comments, please, again, leave them in the comment section. For those of you on live here with me, I'm so delighted you're here. Or if you join on the replay, appreciate you being here. Remember, it's an indispensable skill that I want you to practice, to learn more about, to try out increasing your competency skill level in authenticity. So study it. I'm hopeful that what we've talked about today will give you a lot of direction and value for this conversation. I hope it does. Listen, join me over in my community, elevatenextlevelsuccess.com. And again, thank you for joining. Love you being here. I'm so excited. I'll see you the next time. Bye. Next Wednesday, 9 o'clock. Bye.